Hey guys, this is not a tutorial. This is not even a guide. I am sure that somebody has done a better, series or tutorial or whatever on how to do Twine endurance, but the other day
We f***ing did it, boys!
what? Beat it on accident, and I'll explain what that means in a second, and this base worked for us, so I figure we might as well get into it. So I say we beat it on accident because we queued our winning run with the idea in mind. Everybody was on the same page that we were trying to find which defense was going to fail and what needed to be tweaked. And then we won. It took us like a day or two, a day and a half, really. Benz wanted to beat endurance, and I was like, okay, fine, let's do, change of pace. And I had done all Twine defenses. I'd done all 10. It wasn't, that hard. If you wait until you're max power level, or, if you have a group of friends especially, it's not that tough. Some basic trapping will definitely get it done, and I stand by that. And what we did with endurance here is I already had my base mostly built. So when I say this took us like a day and a half, I already had a lot to work with. Now, we ended up gutting it and replacing most of it. I'll actually link the 2 streams that we did, not only beating it, which will be the second link, but the first stream that we did before that, where we did a lot of tinkering. I'll try to provide timestamps if we play the game otherwise. If you want a full, uncut live stream of us building these defenses, it's all been recorded on my YouTube channel. You guys can just check it out in the description below. I'll talk about everything that we settled on here, and even then I'm going to say that there are a lot of minor changes that you'll see as these tunnels evolve throughout the rest of the map here. I'm going to be trying to go clockwise, so I'm going to talk about A here and this first defense, and then we'll move along the map out in that direction. So what happened is, having a lot to work with, we decided to just hit start. Literally no planning, no defense, tweaking whatsoever. Just hit play on endurance, and wherever we lose, fix that tunnel. So like this side right here actually had, I think, no traps the first time we did that. We're like, oh, okay, so north of the first amplifier is a spawn. Okay, noted. All right, and then we, died, or I think we made it past that one, then we went to A, and I'm like, okay, so where do we defend here? And apparently this side is a defense, and so we trapped all that up, and and we just went through it like that. There were plenty of defenses that had like no traps in them. Like that one was, really, really outdated. Most of my tunnels were. And I say all this to encourage anybody watching this. If you've never done Twine Endurance, just go for it. Watch wherever you fail and, put some gas traps down. Put some, tire traps will be a very, very consistent protagonist in our story. And sealing electric fields and all that will happen later on. But I'm going to go through every single defense here, show you what worked for us, why we did what, and well, let's get into it. So what worked for us especially is having a group of 4 people. When the tunnels failed, we all came in with Mythic Storm King Wraths or whatever other strong weapon that we had. You don't need that to beat endurance, and we cleaned up whatever we could do. And you are going to need 2 main things, well, 3, I guess. First off, trap durability bonuses as your set bonus and your survivors is huge. I mean, you don't need it, I don't think, but it helps a lot. So, for example, like these gas traps, for example, or I'll even look at the tire traps because they're pretty low. That's like 34. With Controller Harper, or Machinist Harper, the trap durability bonus, that buffs every trap by like 50%, so that'll go up to like, whatever that'd be, 51 or something. It was a lot more. It was like 60 or something if everybody was combined. I don't remember exactly what it was. I'm just saying numbers at this point, but it was a lot more. It was almost double, I think, and that makes a big difference because it's not a matter of if, but when you need to replace your traps, at least with our setup right here. With these tire traps, for example, that one right over there, this B defense, that got hit multiple times. That's why I kept looking over there. I think we defended that 3 or 4 times. So by the end of the waves, I was dying, literally, getting in there, just replacing all these, because my death is not nearly as important as getting the trap back into place, because, if the traps aren't there, I mean, most of the time you spend in endurance is just watching traps fire, which is why it was so boring, and I'm kind of glad we beat it as early as we did. But yeah, let's talk about this first defense, because we actually got lucky and only had to defend this one once. So for me, this is where I say that there are a lot of tweaks that I would make. So, like, all these tire traps weren't there for endurance. I actually placed this for war games later on, and this sound wall wasn't here. In fact, I think for a while it was actually a broadside shooting off into nothing, which, that's the worst thing to do, by the way. If you ever have a broadside, give it something to hit against, or else you're just wasting materials. It'll do like no damage. And so sound walls are huge because it makes propanes drop their propanes. That's it. The propane dudes, if they start dancing, they'll leave their propane behind, or at least they used to, and then they won't blow up your tunnels. And the anti-air traps in a lot of these early tunnels you'll see were there because if a propane is thrown, it'll actually shoot the propane out. This was far less effective than I thought it would be, and so I don't really suggest using these. So that's kind of another edit. Again, sound walls. These are just basic timeout rooms. Ceiling electric fields are up here to stay away from propanes, and anything 3 tiles up won't get affected by that big lava bomb. I'm pretty sure that's well-known information, but if you're watching this, then if you're watching this far in, then you might not need that information. But there you go. 3 tiles up and you're safe. 2 tiles for the ceiling electric field, and then gas traps are, as far as I understand, especially against physical enemies, the hardest hitting trap in the game. I will have shown all of the perks for all these different traps that I'm using as we go, and you can see what worked for us. Broadsides are awesome just to do lots of damage. You'll see that it's a consistent thing. I'll explain a lot of these individual trap uses less as we go on, just to save time, but floor spikes are again something that I later on swapped out for floor freeze traps, and yeah. So this second tunnel is the main amplifier as well, the north side. It's not even, I'm not even sure if we defended this one during Endurance, and if we had, I probably would have tweaked a lot more, sound walls to drop the propanes, just damage from the broadsides. Tire traps are fantastic for stalling. They don't do tons of damage. It's not really a damaging trap, but in Endurance, when every single defense is time-based and you don't need to technically kill anything, you can actually stall a lot. So you'll see tire traps on literally every single amplifier for the sole purpose of just slowing enemies down and giving us more time in the wave. And there are fewer, more perfect examples than this initial amplifier. Just a nice slope, 3 tiles up is the height of the ceiling drop trap. The higher it is, the more it'll bounce and the more effective it can be for damage, but on a slope, you kind of wanted it to just hit and slide down, so you don't want it to bounce so much. Either or, you could stagger this up, do whatever you want. I don't care. If it works, it works. Again, the anti-air trap and floor spikes are kind of outdated. In my later tunnels, we'll move on to, like I said, A, and then we'll start going the other direction. So A is one of my favorite tunnels because it looks so open, and it looks like this wouldn't work, but it did. And so the spawns for this are as follows. There are a couple that spawn like right up here and right on here. So they'll be spawning up here. That's what all these wall launchers are for, just to push them all into this main tunnel. And if I do recall correctly, this did function. This wall here and this ramp, and I don't think the ramp's needed, but all of this, you don't want to put a wall there. It'll make a path for them, but you could block this off pretty effectively, and the wall launchers did good jobs in putting everything down here, and then the rest of the spawns are all out in this main area. So on this left side, we get hit by electric field. Again, we were just kind of messing with whatever at this point. I don't even think these are necessary. Floor freeze are awesome because not only are enemies frozen in place, but they take more damage while they're frozen, which is a huge bonus to have, seriously. And then tire traps that stall them. And then this is just a nice zigzag tunnel that I build in a lot of main missions. Every single step of the way, there's a wall launcher pushing them back through out until this extra part. Sound balls for the propanes, broadsides just doing damage the whole way. If I were to replace this, I'd put floor freeze in here nowadays and gas just to do constant damage. That worked really well. And then wall lights just to stun, just to freeze them in place. This was at a time when I prefer wall lights kind of in main missions. I like them with defenders a lot, but I'm more and more becoming more of a fan with the floor freeze traps. And then wall lights are the only thing that can work there because I think that explosion bomb will blow up anything on the ground. So wall lights are great just to keep them under the tire traps. And it wasn't until after that I found out that these last two right here weren't even there the entire defense. If I recall this correctly, I don't think we even had those tire traps there, which kind of embarrassing. Found that out later, but yeah, lots of tire traps just to bounce down this hill and stall everything in place. I mean, you can kind of see what we did here, just, same old, and that's not going to change. So, moving on to B, it's actually, again, a very straightforward tunnel. I don't think we'll have to spend much time here. So, in our testing, again, when we were testing with literally 0 traps, I had no defense set up for B. All of them spawned and naturally walked up this hill. I know that we do have a little bit of a safety over here because every once in a while a lobber might stray. And then as a nice little, backup, we also have this right here, which doesn't really, I don't think it needs to be there, but it helps when stuff might, track out to the side. They might come down this way. It just helps block everything off. That's completely unnecessary, I think. I don't think anything goes up there. You could probably take that out entirely. I'm just going to leave it for now. But yeah, tire traps just to stall. 3 tiles up because it bounces up and down. They are very effective here. Over here was a nice little addition we made later on, actually. It just bounces down, you know, it stalls everything. These electric fields were swapped out for tire traps later on, just because, you know, floor freeze covered this entire floor later on, too. The wooden floor spikes got, I think, blown up by propane. And yeah, floor spikes, broadside, sound walls, you know the drill. Drop the propane, do damage. This worked extremely well. Again, we had to defend this about 4 times, so even into the very late game, this held up. Again, even if you're not killing stuff, stalling with tire traps and freezing them in place is a great way to just stall out the rounds. And then all of these broadsides is like my idea, and this held true actually, is figuring if anything makes it this far, they're probably a smasher, a fatty, a nurse got through, or whatever made it this far just needs to die, and that's what the broadsides were for. These extra floor frees were just for any extra zombies, and they did come in handy. We didn't need much more than that, so I'm going to actually move on to C before we talk about F, but C is pretty basic. C, I think, is the most clear example of when we really started figuring stuff out. Anti-air trap is, again, just me being a little paranoid. It could help against lobbers. I don't think this needs to be here, but nothing really tracked into this corner. Everything walks in from here and then just sort of, like, goes this way, so these are not super necessary in that corner. You don't want to place anything here because anything that goes up here will just end up breaking it. Not super, yeah, but anyway, tire traps and floor freeze is a match made in heaven. That's a known thing at this point, but it worked very well for us. Down walls to drop the propane, broadsides for extra damage, but essentially floor freeze and ceiling drop traps were awesome. Just, you know, stall everything, do damage, you know the drill. And then, of course, it's the same cookie-cutter thing for every strategy, just broadsides and gas traps for anything that made it through. This was the wave, actually, where smashers just went crazy here, and eventually, when smashers come in, you don't even bother killing them all the time. You can, it'll work. If you have the Storm King's Wrath, it's a very powerful weapon. You don't need it, again, for endurance, but it helps a lot. We just built walls and stalled this as much as we could, and this is actually where we got our UFO, and with a deatomizer, it was not that big of a deal. Anybody who wants to, you know, list their favorite UFO weapons in the comments, feel free to share the knowledge, but personally, the atomizer worked for me, and that was it. You do have to build up to hit it effectively, and that could hurt you on your building limits. So F is definitely one of the most fun amplifiers, because you have this giant death pit, which isn't really a death pit, but if you look at it, they don't really have anywhere to go but out, and I put some wall launchers back here just to push absolutely anything out into the water. I don't think these were even used or necessary, but I'm glad that I had them, and I'm wondering if I can triple jump on out of here. Wow, what an awesome loadout. I have Fleetfoot Ken and Soaring Mantis on this. It's a pretty nice combo, but this was awesome. Just these tire traps, these wall lights for stunning, you know, sound walls for everything. We stood up here as a team and just used the Storm King launcher on all of the smashers that walked through here, and that worked perfectly well. I might want to swap out the wooden floor spikes for, you know, floor freeze as usual, but that did the trick, seriously. Anything that made it through got hit by this, which not much did, and because I think we only had to defend this once. If it was later in the game, that might have been a difference. But anything that spawned out here got hit by the wall launchers, and then there's just a basic gas tunnel, which will be more explained when we get over here. This needs to be updated, seriously. If you're going to build in this location, walls like this, I'm building it now because I feel like this will be necessary in the future. If we ever run endurance again or whatever, these would have been awesome. This was a huge mess the entire fight. Everything walked up here. I would have put tire traps up here as well, maybe, if I didn't want to put walls. But this tunnel did okay. Just wall lights, you know, just the typical. I don't even need to explain this. Those don't need to be there. If you've been watching, then you know at this point. Just gas traps and stunning everywhere. Wall lights and floor freeze. This is to break the impact barrier, so fatties sometimes won't get frozen right away, or something. I don't know if these affect mist monsters. I can't remember. I think floor freeze do. So the more impact you're doing, the better. And then just tires all the way. 3 tiles up, so they bounce nice and lots. And then they'll just fall down here and basically bring anything back down into their spawn. A couple more could have been nice here, but yeah. No lobber shield was necessary for this, and that worked pretty well. Not a hell of a lot made it through here. This was the one time I actually antagonized an enemy, and stuff started blowing up. But again, with an organized team, all my teammates were in these tunnels, just, you know, making sure that my mistakes did not lose us the game, and they did a great job. Thank you, everybody. Donna, Skulls, Benz, this was a great team. Wouldn't have run it with anybody else. That's not true. I like a lot of people, but they were around at the time. None of us had done endurance, so that was good. Fun fact: Donna actually didn't have all 10 of her defenses done, so she never got the banner for this. But we'll run it for her another day if she cares enough. I doubt she does. Nice big ramp over here at the, what is this one? The E amplifier? I think the people call this the lava pit one. I don't know. It's really easy to trap this nowadays, just with tire traps. Just dumping everything down. You know the drill. Broadside, sound walls, just damage / whatever. I kind of spammed these almost as a joke. This is what we did during the defense look. Almost as a joke, I put these down, but they worked so well. It's my understanding that they might have been bugged with their reload speed, but nothing made it past this, at least initially. They just, every step they took, they got frozen in place. Another edit I would make to this, by the way, is if you wanted to put, like, broadsides down here, that'd be great. Propanes did make it quite far at this point, so extra sound walls would have been really nice, too, just so that they didn't blow anything up. And then another thing might sound a little weird is opening this tunnel up, because they will spawn right over there, and they will either break this wall or this wall, so you kind of just have to take the L, if you will, let them walk through here. Tire traps and floor freeze will make sure that they don't get too far. Electric fields are nice. Even another electric field covering these tiles right here would have also saved us a lot. And then way later in the game, stuff did start to make it very far here. This was actually one of our closest losses. I had to go full BR mode to make sure we didn't lose this. I genuinely don't know what we would have changed. I think just more trap damage up there / on these different pathways. Maybe, like I said, broadside shooting back and forth would have been helpful. I don't know, but this one worked extremely well, and then towards the end we were barely hanging on. As for any mini-bosses or smashers over here, anything that goes into the lava pit dies, and that will apply for the H and I modifier over there. That's very nice. Anything in the lava pit will just die, so that's very convenient. That pretty much wraps up this amplifier, so I think we're good to move on to H, which is, I feel like I've said this multiple times, this is one of my favorite amplifiers. This was so good. These, I don't even know what to call these. They're like sight lines, pathways. These hallways here are just great. I'm almost dubbing these shower stalls because these electric fields really give that effect. You know the drill down here, just, you know, wall lights, sound walls, fire traps, ramp, you know the drill. Every single amplifier defense just about has a ramp at some point, which is really convenient. But broadsides for damage, wall lights and floor freeze for stunning all along the way. Propanes are an issue. I should have put more sound walls, but yeah, that did really well. This protected very well. Skulls put these at the back. I never, ever liked that. I would have changed this, but then we won the endurance, and then nobody cared to come back to this, so I would swap those out for something else, but it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, this in the defense, I actually did put more tire traps right up here. In fact, I'll put them down just for future usage. That would have been really nice to have initially, but not a big deal. These anti-air traps were wasted, and then just, yeah, floor freeze. Wall lights were put in before the floor freeze. We kind of edited this as we went. This tunnel could use a lot of refinement. So, like, sound walls all the way along the side would be better, because propanes were an issue here. And then floor freeze everywhere and broadsides everywhere. I should have put them here. I don't know why I didn't, but it worked. It was fine. And then on the other side here, just a lot of... I don't even think they spawn over there, but we just went crazy with the tire traps. Over here is a minor lobber shield, so flingers and lobbers aren't as annoying. Anti-air traps are great for that purpose, but not necessarily on the floor like I thought, at least as of the defense. This worked. This did great, actually. It was a little bit of maintenance. We weren't doing nothing, but, you know, it was a lot of trial and error, and this one passed the test as well. So, onto my eye defense. This is probably my actual favorite. I'm gonna keep overwriting that, I'm sure of it. But this one was awesome. I actually had these here. I said not to put these earlier, but this stalled the enemies for so long. I think these survived an actual... Because with the tire traps stunning the enemies, making them not attack anymore, making the propanes not blow stuff up, slowing down their assault on these tiles, they just didn't break through this for an entire wave. I just came back and upgraded these mid-wave, and they were fine. Floor freeze and tire traps are just... the way to cheese Twine as of when we beat this. We didn't even need to put them covering the spawns. This is where they spawn, and we didn't even put them out here because these ramps plus just these tunnels here, it worked really, really well. Hardly anything made it this far, and if they did, they got hit by gas traps, humans, because we were watching this, of course, broadsides, and anything that went to the other side just got shot off into the lava. I said this would come back into play, and then that was awesome. So we actually had to defend meteors on a couple of these meteor showers. So, I mean, anti-air traps got spammed everywhere. Thanks, Benz. I don't know that that was totally necessary, but these are an awesome, awesome thing to throw down wherever there wasn't a base, and that worked great. I don't know that I would change anything about this defense. It was, I think, our final wave of the entire thing where we all freaked out a little bit, and it did the trick. It worked really well. I didn't place these, by the way. I don't think that this is anywhere they would go, but I'll leave them just because why not? And where are we at now? I don't even know where we're at. This is the D defense. Oh no, we're at G. Okay. So the pit. G is probably my least favorite, since I have to pick one. Shower stalls. I'm dubbing this. I don't know if anybody's ever called these shower stalls before, but I'm coining that term. It's awesome. It's better than a timeout room, because it looks like a locker room. I mean, come on. Look what we built here. This is just great. I love this. This is so customizable. We had a lot of options here, but sound walls, because propanes were an issue. Tire traps, you know the drill. There were no floors that survived in this defense, but these walls went untouched, so maybe we just got lucky with spawns, but it's my understanding that these might actually work. More tire traps than I think we needed. They did awesome. I don't think you have to defend I from this side anymore. Epic said they took out overlapping spawns, and everybody in chat said they only spawned west. In 30 rounds of endurance, I never saw any spawns coming from this direction, so I think we are good on that. I actually did a real-life thumbs up there. I know you didn't see that, but, you know, I'm signing off on it. These could be a tile higher, just so it's 3 drops, but it didn't make... Well, no, this is my least favorite. It would have made a difference. It's my least favorite because this got shattered. This thing got destroyed. The tire traps, dumping them in here. These did actually get some action, so a little bit of extra gas traps was kind of nice here. But floor freeze and broadsides and timeout rooms galore. Yeah, any kind of smasher or nurse, healing hose as we call them, just made sure everything was invincible up until its final point. This would need some edits if we didn't win the endurance, but yeah, that was bad. Floor freeze is a great final defense. The tornado tore apart a lot of these, but I don't know why that affects the durability, but it did. But yeah, floor freeze and sound walls was like my last defense for this, and it did come to that, but this is where we lost, I think 2 or 3 times in our like trial runs for endurance, and for some reason on the last defense, I think we had to defend this like 3 or 4 times again, and it held up in the winning run for some reason. I don't know. I would change a lot about this. This is one of those major, like, this is not a tutorial examples of, like, I don't know that anybody should recreate this exactly, but, you know, we made it work. We made it work. And D is another example of, I can't believe this worked. So, mid-building, the meteor was right on these 4 tiles, and then shifted towards this. I've been told that you can move this around. I apparently accidentally did it, so that's why I have this entire row that's not being used, and a sound wall that I didn't get to use at all. It just, I don't know, I got trolled by the game. I don't actually think we defended this during endurance. I might be wrong, I'll show the clip if we did, but I don't think this one actually saw any use, so jury's still out on this, but I think we have enough tire traps here to where, I think we would have been okay. But what did see some use was the north side of this defense. That was, see what I mean? It moved. This it's one of the coolest looking ones, hands down. And for some reason, it was like, I don't know, 70 or 80% of them came through here, and only a few went through here. Because this is our much stronger defense by far. But, yeah, this looks great in theory, but it did not... I don't know. It stunned a lot. It worked okay. A lot of stuff walked out here, so I think another row of ceiling drop traps would have been nice, or just a flat wall would have been cool. But this was shady. This was a very... This took a lot of... If we got this in the late game, and we had to defend this on, like, late 20s or so, I think we would have had some issues. Yeah, these wall launchers helped, like, once, but smashers just make them not exist anymore. Floor freeze up here actually would have been really, really nice. So I can even do that now to demonstrate. Okay, you can't build there for some reason. Oh, 6 structures left to place. Was that my last ones? Oh, shit. Well, I'm going to tear these up just so I can build. But yeah, that was a defense that I don't know what I would change, completely honestly. I don't know. Maybe covering this up would have helped, but I don't have any structures left apparently, so whoops. They don't spawn up here anymore. Chat told me as much, and I think that's actually our last modifier. And that brings us all the way back to A. That might have been too quick. I'm hoping that, you know, the streams of the endurance fight or any clips that I use might have helped in showing this. I did not want this to be an hour-long video, so I tried to make this a quick overview of what worked for us. And I feel like I explained this in the beginning, but I'll say it again, that we beat endurance on accident because we had no expectation of this to work. We were still testing tunnels. We queued our winning run with the idea in mind. Everybody was on the same page that we were trying to find which defense was going to fail and what needed to be tweaked. And then we won. So, I don't know. There are definite improvements to this. I'm sure it can be done better. I'm sure people in the comments will tell me more. I don't plan to run endurance again here. It might happen. I mean, the future is a long time from now. We could definitely run this again just for fun. Maybe I want to try something. I'm not really an endurance player necessarily, but this worked. We got the banner, you know. It's done. So if I come back to this, I'll maybe, you know, take some advice here, but we still do have plans to do cannies, so I might do that as well. But that's it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll put timestamps in the description. I probably should have said that at the beginning, but yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you learned something from this. I'm glad I covered this because we did this like a week or a week and a half ago now, and I really put this off. So thank you guys for watching. I wasn't even going to upload this because until we beat it on accident, it wasn't really news. Oh, good. Another YouTuber did endurance. Woo. But there you go. Thank you guys for watching, and have a nice day.